Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's live broadcast, 3 Ways to Turn Client Experience into Your Competitive Advantage. I'm Lisa Henderson, the Editorial Director of Applied Clinical Trials, and I'll be your moderator for today's event. We are pleased to bring you this webcast presented by Applied Clinical Trials and sponsored by Sikich. I would like to share a statement from our sponsor. Sikich is a leading technology consultant helping hundreds of companies in the life science, CRO, and professional services industries ensure compliance, streamline processes, and deliver the best possible client experience. When you work with Sikich, you experience cost savings, efficiencies, and successful project delivery with the best balance of speed to value. We have a few important announcements before we begin. The webcast is designed to be interactive, and we encourage you to ask questions during the event. You can submit questions by typing them in the Q&A box, which can be found on the right-hand side of your screen. You can enlarge the slide window by clicking on the small square icon in the upper right-hand corner of the slide window, or by hovering your mouse over the lower right-hand corner and dragging the window to the desired size. Your slides will advance automatically during the event. If you have any technical problems viewing or hearing this presentation, please click on the question mark help widget in the dock at the bottom of your presentation window. And I'd now like to introduce today's speakers. We are pleased to be joined today by Christopher Manchester and Matt Mountain. Based in Boston, Massachusetts, Chris has spent nearly a decade helping CROs streamline operations and grow their business through ERP implementations. With a background in finance, he's helped dozens of CROs and life sciences organizations leverage technology to scale quickly and be prepared for any potential path the organization may take. And based in Cincinnati, Ohio, Matt is a partner on Sikich's technology team specializing in Salesforce implementation, enhancement, and support services. Matt has over 30 years of experience as a consultant working with a variety of services firms from startup companies to Fortune 500. He uses his knowledge of Salesforce and his experience in client services to expertly translate what clients want into a specification that they purchase. Matt is a certified Salesforce administrator, a certified platform app builder, and Salesforce Financial Services Cloud accredited consultant. So thank you for joining us today. And Chris, would you like to get us started?
Thank you, Lisa, and thanks for having us today. Like Lisa mentioned, we're going to go over 3 ways to turn your client experience into a competitive advantage. Just to go through what we're going to be covering today, we're going to start a bit quickly on Sikich and what we've done in the CRO and life sciences space. We're going to cover some of the business challenges that we're seeing across CRO client base today. Additionally, we'll take a look and talk about some of the technology challenges that we're seeing in the CRO space and what we've done to help mitigate some of those shortcomings. And lastly, we'll talk about the client experience. And what we've heard the term lately is the digital journey that your organization is going to take over the next coming years. So getting a little bit into what Sikich has done in the CRO and expanded life sciences space, as you can see, we've worked with over 100 life science and CRO organizations at this point, and this list is growing rapidly. Now, this spans from early stage pharmas, biotechs, therapeutic organizations, medical advice companies, in addition to different types of CROs. Now, these CROs can be clinical or preclinical. And what this does is it gives us a wide breadth of experience across multiple areas of the value chain. Having multiple clients within the space, we get a really firm understanding of what both vendors and clients are looking for when doing business with each other. Ultimately, we think it boils down to access to information. As we go through the presentation here, we'll talk about what we've built in this Sikich Success for CRO Solutions. And what we've done is we've combined Salesforce and NetSuite as 2 leading cloud business applications in a manner to better interact with each other to combine both business, teams, and processes. one thing that we do strive for our clients and projects is this concept of speed to value. We're executing projects quicker and more successfully, and we're doing that by using a number of different elements. One is phasing, another is creating roadmaps for that digital journey that we'll talk about, and defining our nice-to-haves versus our really critical items. Ultimately, what this summarizes as is a high Net Promoter Score, and we're very proud of this particular score. The life sciences industry is a large area of focus for us, and it will be in years to come. So the next thing we're going to talk about is client experience as your top business priority. Ultimately, answering the question of why are we here today? We've performed some market analysis in this area and have included some of the following results. Client experience is as important as the products and services that these companies offer. To kind of overuse the cliche, what we're finding is that our clients and your clients are really expecting that Amazon-like experience. They're looking for things like asynchronous interaction, meaning they want to be able to interact and have access to information at their fingertips when they want it. Living in the COVID world, we know many folks are working in strange hours, have different priorities, and really want to be able to interact with these companies and these technologies in the way they want to do it. We want to be able to provide real-time access to information, not something that's a batch process, a week old, a month old, or worse. And really what we want to do is tailor it to have a really personalized experience. So we're making the technology adaptable to the way they want to interpret it. Client experience can become a competitive advantage. What we're seeing and through our discussions with multiple CRO experts is that the CRO space is increasing in competition. Additional work must be won. It is not guaranteed. The CRO space is made up of larger organizations, niche players, new companies enter the market, so the competition is truly increasing. What we feel is that technology will actually become a game changer. Increased client experience can result in increased prices and ultimately greater margins. And lastly, we're finding that more companies are coming to expect these type of technologies. They're expecting that they'll have access to information, personalized experience, and be able to achieve that when and where they want.
This is Matt Mountain, and I'd like to touch on some of the business challenges in talking to organizations that we've experienced and a lot of feedback that we've received. Now, from a business standpoint, there's a lot of people and process challenges. When running trials, there are a lot of resources required. There needs to be very, very strong project management overseeing this. You need people at the facilities. You need safety people, site coordinators. So from a business standpoint, it's very different from a software product where you can just redeploy another one. This requires a tremendous amount of resources, and we will touch on that from a technical challenge here in a second. Also, from a process standpoint, CROs, these organizations are getting a lot of RFPs. And these are not small RFPs. And there's a lot of quoting that needs to go on. There needs to be coordination across many different groups at the organization. There needs to be communication not only internally, but externally. And as you get into these projects, there's often a change in scope. It could be upwards of 20, 30%. And being able to manage when you win business, not only getting to the point where you win it and streamline that, but then also running these trials and being able to manage scope and being able to stay profitable with these types of projects. What I'd like to talk about are some technology challenges now. So based upon the trial that you may be involved in, there's different quoting, and it's very complex quoting. There's a lot of configuration in terms of hours, in terms of product, in terms of sites in terms of just a number of things that go into a quote. So it's not so much just picking a few people and a few products and doing some math. It's very, very complex. And a lot of organizations have a custom application, maybe to do their quoting, because it's unique. It could have been a legacy app that got ported to a different technology, but it's not connected to the system that is being used and by everybody from a collaborative standpoint. And then another challenge is sharing data with clients. So from an organizational standpoint, there's a lot of portals that CROs are working with today in terms of data collection, in terms of sharing data, in terms of making sure that the right people are receiving the right drug versus placebo. There's a lot of portals. So how do we consolidate that and share data with clients effectively? And then there's also the tracking of time. Again, this is very labor intensive, so we need to be able to track how much time is taking place. And you've got a lot of people out in the field at these different sites, and we need to consolidate that. And what that leads to is a lot of systems that are not integrated together. So quoting could be done in one system. Sharing data or capturing data out in the field could be done in a variety of systems. And when from an executive level and from a management standpoint, as you scale your business and try to manage all these different systems, the bigger you get, the bigger the complexity is and more challenges from a technology standpoint. So that leads us to a little bit about Sikich. Sikich is a national firm based in Chicago, Illinois. We've got over 900 employees. From a Salesforce standpoint, we've got over 300 Salesforce clients. Sikich as a company has been in business for 35 years. A lot of experience in integrating Salesforce with Microsoft Dynamics as well as Oracle NetSuite. So there's a very strong history in ERP deployment and integration. From a Salesforce standpoint, we specialize in a number of clouds, from the Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, to marketing, financial services, Community Cloud, which is now called the Experience Cloud, as well as analytics and field service, Lightning, CPQ, collaboration. And we are a gold partner within the Salesforce ecosystem and have a lot of experience in deploying to manufacturing, financial services, as well as professional services organizations like CROs. So when we look at the pricing and the quoting process, one of the things that is important is how do we streamline this? So starting on the left, we've got complex business rules with cost information. So as we put together these quotes and respond to these RFPs, not only do we need to respond, but we need to respond profitably. But we also have disconnected systems. So again, we talked about the quoting system. Could be in an Access database that only certain people have access to. But then we need to have approvals, because as you go and submit your RFP, make the short list, and then you have to come back and defend your position and update your quote, you need to have the approvals in place. But you also need to have the feedback loop. How did we do compared to our competitors, and to be able to learn from that? So when we look there in the center of the screen at the bottom, some of the potential solutions for this: the Salesforce Sales Cloud, Salesforce CPQ, which is Configure, Price, Quote, the Salesforce Experience Cloud, which is the community or portal platform, and we're also going to touch on, from a back office standpoint, how NetSuite fits into this. Starting with the Sales Cloud. The Sales Cloud was Salesforce's traditional product. How do we help salespeople track their leads, their clients, their contacts, their activities, their opportunities. So as you receive RFPs, you want to be able to track information about that RFP and see it through to hopefully you win the business. But even if you don't, you want to have that in there so you can learn from it. Why did we lose? And start to develop intelligence around where do we win, where do we not win. Salesforce has artificial intelligence. I can go into my opportunities and Salesforce will tell me on a scale of 1 to 100, what's the propensity that I'm going to win that? And what it does is it crawls through your data and takes a look at history and then takes a look at the information about this specific opportunity, and it'll tell you why there's a good chance you'll win it and why there's a chance you won't win it and how to improve your chances of winning it. So Sales Cloud is the fundamental. I want to track the people I'm working with, the activities, the opportunities, but this is just a starting point. The next piece would be the Salesforce CPQ, Configure, Price, Quote. So when you're doing quoting, if I'm selling pencils and each pencil is $1 and you need 10 of them, I can pick the pencil, say I want 10 of them, and it'll total it up and it'll say it's $10. Very basic. But as you get into more complex quoting, which is what CROs need, there's a product called CPQ that gives you the ability to not only do bundling, but also to have dependent variables available to you. So you can perform very detailed quoting and build those business rules into the system so there will be no manual errors in terms of missing a product, for example. It will actually force you into selecting what's next as a dependent relationship to the product that was previously picked. So CPQ is an advanced quoting system that when deployed with Sales Cloud, and since they're both Salesforce products, they work very seamlessly together, they allow you to develop your quote, update your opportunity right within Salesforce.
Perfect. So as we transition from the selling process and where Matt was covering both the Sales Cloud and your opportunity management and your CPQ, your pricing and quoting, how does that translate into the back-end operation in terms of fully executing these projects? So what we'll talk about in the next couple slides is integrating your sales activities into execution. And what I want to identify here is the key term is integration. We really strive for that automated flow of information from your front-end CRM system into your back-end execution, in this case, Salesforce to NetSuite. What this does is it cuts down on data processing resources. We want to turn folks that were traditionally data inputters into more of your data analysts. What this does is it better ensures accuracy, and it provides a streamlined handoff between operations and business development. The other thing that it identifies is scope. Easily convert scope into execution plans. We can then start to establish timelines. We can communicate the delivery and when the expected delivery of these clinical studies, trials, projects are projected at. The other thing it does from a back-end reporting perspective is it gives us a bit of a backlog. What do I have as awarded business that we still need to execute? What's in the queue? Additionally, like Matt was talking about on the front end, where you may have approvals on the sales process, we might also have execution-based approvals. Approvals of project plans, approval of timelines, and the like. The other benefit here is that since we're tracking all of this in a single project, study, trial, we can then start to track things like profitability. We'll be able to provide some visibility into financial profitability of current studies, trials, and projects. We can communicate past results to business development. This is beneficial from understanding if we're now quoting or pricing a new clinical trial or study, How did we do on past performance of something very similar? We can utilize this data for future RFPs. We can understand what good business is and what are the good clients we want to work with. The other thing we can start to identify is, are there niche markets that we're performing better in? I know some of the buzzwords are things like stem cell and rare disease, but are there areas of our business that we're really performing better than others? Or are we branching into a new niche market? Another element that we do identify and bake into the handoff of Salesforce to NetSuite is resourcing. What we can do is flow necessary resources from the business development cycle into project plans. We can provide an analysis on availability. Are we over or underutilizing our resources? We can align skill sets with what we actually sold. And the last part is location management. We are finding that, a lot of these trials and studies are happening all over the country and all over the world. How do we manage the different locations in which these clinical trials operate and make sure we're aligning resources to best execute those projects? As we dig a little deeper, we can start to understand and align our operations with our billing. We can automatically build project plans. And like you can see in the visual here, we have just a very simple project plan built out. And there's often a couple ways that these project plans can be built. One is we can use what are called templates to make sure that if there's projects that we're selling in a repeatable fashion with a similar structure, we can use templates to automatically build out those plans to get us 80, 90, 95% the way there. Additionally, we can take the elements that were included in the very granular pricing of what Matt was describing in CPQ and translate those into project plans, making sure we're aligning both the selling and operational sides of the business. We know that for a lot of clinical CROs, it's very labor-based. So we strive to align quotes and proposals with how your organization executes your projects, studies, or trials. We try to ensure that timelines are met and the deliverables are laid out from the contract. And a big thing that seems simple, but we want to make sure that we're invoicing the same way that we're quoting. Further diving into the financial aspects, we want to make sure that we're recognizing revenue appropriately. We want to make sure we're compliant with elements such as ASC 606, audit, compliance, and providing clarity to how we're actually recognizing revenue. From a billing perspective, we want to make sure that we're offering what we're calling flexible billing. This really rounds out the whole quote to cash cycle. Some of the different ways that we're seeing our flexible billing utilized throughout the CRO space are elements such as traditional time and materials that most professional services in some fashion are leveraging. We could be on a percent complete, or how through the study are we, and we're basing our billing based on that percent complete. It could be usage or consumption based if we're, let's say, utilizing a compound or based on a certain metric, which we want to base our invoicing on. A set frequency or a billing schedule means that we're essentially just billing in a certain frequency, whether that's monthly, quarterly, yearly, across the life cycle of the study. Ultimately, the goal here is that we want to increase collectability and transparency to your clients, I should say, so they get less questions on what is this invoice actually made up of. The outcome is reduced day sales outstanding and cash flow. Like Matt was talking about with the feedback loop in the sales cycle, there's also a feedback loop that has to happen from operations back to business development and also back to your end clients. So from a sales cycle perspective, we want to give insight into how we executed the quote that was produced in the beginning. Were we profitable? Was the pricing okay? Do we need to make adjustments to some of the assumptions that we're making in the CPQ processes? We want to be able to store things like master services agreements, disclosures, pricing, and RFPs so that we can leverage those as we go forward, both from a new business perspective and an execution perspective. Now, just before we segue to the next slide, there's also a feedback loop in terms of communicating to your clients elements of the execution plan that are happening. We want to be able to do this in an automated fashion and give the access to information to your client's fingertips. Some of the areas that we focus on are project status. What are percent completes of your current clinical trial? What are the different billing type elements we have? Do you have outstanding invoices? What your payment status is? From an operation perspective, we may also decide to disclose things like what are our clinical results, images and lab results, clinical notebooks, and there's a bunch more. And all of this really boils down to eliminating the need for multiple portals, multiple disparate systems, and manual efforts.
And as you talk about portals, Salesforce has what's called the Experience Cloud, formerly the Community Cloud, which is a portal. And Salesforce has different types of portals available. What we're looking at here is a template from Cornell University, but the idea being is that this information or this technology can be deployed out to the field for data collection, out to your client to review results, and to a number of different use cases. So when we think about Salesforce, we need to think about different front ends. The Sales Cloud and CPQ are for your internal users, for your quoting and the account, the contact, the activity management. And then the Experience Cloud is for your clients, your vendors, so that you can work collaboratively in the same environment such that when somebody updates data from an Experience Cloud site, that information is immediately available in Salesforce and with approvals can be immediately seen by whoever has access to it. So Experience Cloud is just another way for data collection as well as sharing data with outside users.
Perfect. So to wrap it up, some of the key points that we want you to take away is that number one is access to information. We want to provide visibility with new age technology and integrated dashboards. We want you to have the ability to really dissect pricing and quoting, minimizing the reliance on tribal knowledge, prepare quotes and estimates faster with greater accuracy, ensure you're competing on good, profitable contracts, and set up a system for follow-on work. We do know that a large percentage of revenue is coming via change orders, amendments, additional studies. We want you to gain efficiencies in managing those studies. Integration of sales activities into executable projects, provide flexible, transparent billing capabilities, offer a solution to gather feedback from clients to garner an environment of continuous improvement, and ultimately that leads to a variety of outcomes. Some of our research has quantified some significant results, including increased revenue, better gross margins, decreases in accounting overhead, including time it takes to close your financials, annual savings by not having manual processes and needing to support multiple disparate legacy systems, and an overall increase in efficiency between different teams and departments by having one source of the truth. I hope you found this valuable, and we hope that you submit some questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris and Matt, for your informative presentations. Unfortunately, we are out of time. I want to thank the audience for attending and participating in today's event. I would also like to thank our sponsor, Sikich, for making today's educational webcast possible. You will receive an email alerting you when this webcast will be available for replay. We invite you to forward that announcement to your colleagues who may have missed today's live event. Thanks again for joining, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.